My group, what I do for a living, that's vital. I don't need people to sit on the sidelines. I need some folks to make it happen. Almost the most important thing is the work. It has to be exceptional. If you're gonna come, you gotta come with it. It's gotta be top work because that is what ultimately will last. Your reputation as far as being a great person and people liking you and working well with you is great. But if your work isn't top rate, then it kind of defeats the purpose. And if you look around the room, great people are your colleagues, you're going to get to know them. At the same time, they're your competition. So you've got to set yourself apart from everyone else in this room. So when those folks in HR get a call a year from now because you graduated, look how many other phone calls they're going to get. So who are they going to remember? They're going to remember Raven Smooth. All right, final step is to make your brand memorable. So we're almost wrapped up here, so I'll go through 3 quick case studies. There is one intern that's not in the room, but he was pretty close. Actually, I met him at a job fair at a college that I won't call out at this moment. Here in Atlanta, an all-male college that I may have went to. But I met him at a job fair, and he was excited to work in our program. Waited till I got there, he asked the right questions, did some work, figure out what group I worked in, met him, and I was instantly impressed. Had a tie on, firm handshake, knew his business, impressive GPA. And most importantly, he'd already done 2 internships for one of our largest advertisers. So it was like a perfect fit. He knew everything about the kids' business and how it related to our business here at Cartoon Network. I couldn't wait to bring him in for an interview, which I did. Responded right away, came in for the interview, everyone loved him, dressed appropriately, showed us all this great work that he did on campus. He was an active leader, great student. Everything was going perfect for this guy. We got to our final 3 interns. I don't know if they, sitting in the room, the 2 that remain, know this process. But we had our interns go through one final step, or potential interns go through one final step, and we had them do a marketing exercise. Do some research, find some promotions on the web or on TV, and write a little point of view about it. So we sent that email out, and I believe it was due 4 days later. And this particular intern that I liked so much did not even respond to that email until 2 days after it was due. At that point, his response was, something came up, I had to travel out of town, this, that, and the other. And instantly, his brand name, at least in my mind, now flipped over. And it wasn't because that he didn't do the exercise, but it was more importantly that he didn't stop and respond to the email and say, hey, something's come up, I'll get back to you, I'm still interested in something. He just said nothing. So his brand name now went from a 10 in my book to a 2, and I quickly forgot his name. And he's not here today, he never got a call back. Because it's all about that first touch. It's all about what his brand is going to represent. And on paper, it was great. But in practicality, in real life, it was Chris Brown. All right, so that's first case study. Second one, also from a similar college. This one I'll call out by name. From Morehouse. It's funny, it was the exact same job fair. I met a graduating senior, marketing major, same thing, in a suit, great handshake, talk about his business. Didn't give me a resume because it wasn't really about exchanging resumes, it was just about an initial meeting. But what he left me was his personalized business card that obviously he created on his own. And if you can see, he even created his own logo, his tagline, his email address was his first and last name. Flip it over, he had details outlining what he's done on campus. And instantly I kept that in my pocket because I figured this guy knows how to market himself. And if I'm hiring someone who is a marketing student, I'm looking for someone who can market themselves because I'm making the assumption that you'll know how to market my product. So this guy's brand was top of the pile instantly. I was recruiting for an internship and he was already graduating, so it wasn't a fit. But my point is, this guy knew how to market himself from the beginning. His first impression was top rated. Yes, ma'am.
Do you recommend putting your accomplishments, activities, etc. on the back of a business card, or do you think?
I recommend figuring out what your brand is and executing whatever you think is necessary. For this particular person, he's a marketing manager, soon to be a marketing professional. So for him, what he was doing is saying, I want you to see that I'm more than my GPA. I'm going to outline all of my experiences on the back. That was so specific for him. I would not have thought to have done that as a senior in college, but he was more forward-thinking than I was. But for him and his brand, it was appropriate. Now, if he was the Lexus, this is how he would, portray his pursuit of perfection. But if his brand was a Hyundai, then maybe he wouldn't do all this. But again, it's about finding what's right for your brand. So speaking of, I'll leave you with some thoughts on another person. It's me. So this is my process when I went through where I was in your shoes and wanted to work specifically in the television industry. I went through a process of defining my brand, what I was going to do to get into the television industry, and how I was going to market myself. You guys have a great benefit to you in that you're doing an internship in the entertainment world, which is, if this is what you want to do, it is a fantastic opportunity. My internship was in pharmaceuticals, completely unrelated. So I had to actually rebrand myself so people wouldn't look at my resume and think, pharmaceuticals, okay, LA Times, okay, but that's not really applicable to the television world. So I had to rebrand my own personal brand. So this is how I did it. This is for me. After I defined it, after I started to nourish my brand, I started to put it into action. So first thing for me, again, I'm a marketing manager. I created a logo. I created a spirit of what I was going to be about. And I described what I was. I'm a brand architect. It means I build brands. I built a website. I'm a digital marketing professional, so of course I need to show you that I know the world about digital, so I built my own website that showed off my experiences. Not just as a resume, but I'm showing you that I know how to put my actions to work. And it's all, if you notice, there's something consistent in all these slides I'm showing. I built my portfolio on a CD-ROM. I know it's a little old school, the word CD-ROM, but at the time, that's what I did. And it was my resume on one side and a portfolio on the other. So you could link to different pieces of my work. You could see references and letters from past employers. You could see samples of different campaigns that I built. But again, it's all part of how I chose to brand my product. My resume, I'm going to tell you a quick resume story. Everyone knows 2008, someone asks you for your resume, of course you email them your resume. Of course, if you're at a job fair, you give them your resume. That's what you do. But my thinking was everyone is going to email their resume and drop it off or put it in an envelope, put it in the mail. So as a marketer, I'm thinking, what am I going to do to differentiate myself from everyone else? Especially everyone wants to work in entertainment. So for me, again, this is my interpretation of what my brand is about. I never put my resume in an envelope. I put it in a cardboard box. Because who the hell sends a resume in a cardboard box? No one. That's exactly why I did it. I wanted to work at MTV. That was my goal. That was all I could do. I had to work at MTV at one point in my life. I had to move to New York to do it. But trying to get into MTV, you can imagine, is not a very easy thing. Someone who used to work there knew a friend who used to work there, long story, and gave me an address of one of the vice presidents of HR. She didn't know me from Adam. I didn't have her email address, I didn't have her phone number. I had her physical address. I didn't really have her address. I just looked up the MTV main address and figured she had to work there. Put my resume in this cardboard box. I stuffed it with a bunch of my samples in a folder, my portfolio, CD, blah, blah, blah. Put some branding on the box, and I sent it to her address. And I was really excited for 2 weeks. I'm like, that's the best thing they've ever seen. I can't wait for the call. And 2 weeks turned into 3 weeks, turned into 4 weeks, turned into 5 weeks. Turned into 6 months, and I heard nothing. And I'm like, all right, this is not working. I got to try something else. And so I'm sitting at my desk, and I get the email. And it's from this person, VP of Marketing of HR. And she says,